going on? Welcome back to the Casual Critic YouTube channel. Today we are reviewing I Care a Lot that came out a couple years ago on Netflix. It's directed by Jay Blakeson, which he hasn't really done much else. It's got a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't necessarily agree with, but we'll get into that. And it's got Rosamond, I hope that's how you say her name, Pike, and Peter Dinklage as the main characters. So let's get into what it's about. Miss Pike is playing a lady named Marla, her job is being a guardian to elderly people, which you probably have heard about guardianship, especially with everything that happened with Britney Spears. That's kind of like the same thing, right? Like her father was her guardian, and Rosamond Pike plays Marla, who is a guardian, but primarily to elderly people who have been deemed incapable of taking care of themselves. So she is called in by the court and by some judge, and they're like, okay, this elderly person cannot take care of themselves. You are now in charge of pretty much every single second of their lives until they die from this point forward. But the most important thing that she's in control of is their assets. So, like their house, their cars, and shit like that. The money they got in the bank. Yeah, she's in charge of all that, which she takes for her advantage. She is basically scamming these fucking old people. She's a terrible person. Terrible, terrible person. She is scamming all these old people. She sells their houses. She sells their cars. She does all this, and then she takes the profits for herself. And she says that she's paying herself for her services, and the judge is like, okay, sounds about right. So that is kind of who she is. She has this mindset that, you gotta take what you want in life, no matter the cost. She is a lioness. She is a badass, blah, 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 blah. She's just a fucking bitch. She's a bitch. I do not like her. So that's that character. Now let's get into what happens. So basically, a doctor that Marla is in cahoots with, okay, like this doctor will go to court and say that these patients are incapable of taking care of themselves. Oh, Marla, would you like to be in charge of their life? Why, yes, Judge, I would. Boom. And then she gets paid off, this doctor. So this doctor approaches her and she's like, hey, I've got this really rare find, okay? I've got this old lady who has no family. And of course, that's very valuable information to Marla, because if this woman doesn't have any family, it's going to be so much easier for her to do what she does and start scamming people. You know what I mean? It's going to be a lot easier. There's not going to be any questions, anybody being like, well, this is my inheritance, blah, 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 blah. It's all for Marla. So she's like, okay, give me this person. Like, go to court, tell them that she's got dementia and all this shit. She can't take care of herself, and then I'll step in. And that's what happens. Well, she gets this old lady kicked out of her house and sent to a senior citizen care facility place, right? Which, by the way, she is totally, cognizant, can do everything herself, is living life up. She's a rich lady, too. That's very important. She is fucking loaded, right? And that's why Marla wants to, be her guardian so bad. So, she gets her out of the house. She starts selling her shit, making the money. And then she finds out through a series of events that basically this woman is connected to the Russian mob. Yeah. And the people in the Russian mob, they're like, I don't think they're in the Russian mob now, but they're ex-mafia, okay? But they're dangerous people, right? And they're coming to look for her. They are getting her out of this facility. And at first, they offer to pay Marla off. They're like, hey, if you can just, take this few $100,000 and then get my friend, her name is Jennifer, the old lady, but her real name's not Jennifer. You can get Jennifer out of that facility and, we'll give you this money. And Marla's like, hell no. You're going to have to give me millions of dollars. And they're like, well, we're not going to do that. We'll probably just kill you instead. And she's like, is that a threat? But then they definitely do try to kill her. And honestly, that part in the movie was very interesting. They were doing a really good job. You could tell they were mafia because they were, really hiding that evidence. And they tried to drown her. They tried to put her car in a lake. And, of course, that bitch Marla, she just gets out of there. And then she's like, okay, well, and she's got a lover. Listen, y'all, this is LGBTQ+. If I would have known that, I would have watched this years ago when it came out. Okay? So she goes to her lover, her girlfriend, and she's like, listen, we can run right now, but we'll always be looking over our shoulder. So we might as well end this. And bitch, she does. She goes and she finds Peter Dinklage and she kidnaps him and she drugs him and she leaves him naked on a trail. It's like a running trail. And then I was like, I thought she was trying to kill him. And I was like, man, that's just not going to do it, is it? Like, there's going to be some twist. He's going to come back alive and kill her or something. No, she did that on purpose, y'all. She did that on purpose because when she left him drugged out on the trail for somebody to find, of course they brought him to the hospital. And it looked like, I guess, to his like report that they run on his blood or whatever, that he had like tried to overdose on drugs. I don't know what she put in him. But when that happens, the hospital says that he is a John Doe. Like, we don't know what's going on. We don't know who he is. He's just overdosed. And when that happens, they automatically assign that person a legal guardian. So Marla becomes his legal guardian. Big brain. Okay? And then she's like, you better give me this fucking $10 million or I'm going to kill you in this hospital right now. And he's like, okay, my phone just went off. I'm so fucking sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so basically, he's like, okay, I'll give you the $10 million. I'll give you, just to make this stop, I'll give you the $10 million. Or we could go into business together. And that's what they decide to do. And she opens up Grayson Guardianships. And she has like offices all over the country. And now she's like, has hundreds of thousands of elderly people that she is scamming. But then, right at the end of the movie, this man, from the very beginning, because, like, in the very beginning of the movie, there was a scene where she went to court, and this man was like, she's holding my mother hostage, she won't let me see my mother. And she was like, well, you're a danger to your mother, and your mother don't even want to see you, make her upset. And then he couldn't go see his mother. And she just did that so, like, she could scam his mother, you know what I mean? Like, she wasn't looking out for her best interest. And then he comes back when she gets all famous and rich. Like, she's like a billionaire at the end of the movie. Like, after she went into business with Peter Dinklage, she's a billionaire. And he comes back from the beginning, and he kills her. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't mind it because she's a bitch. She's a bitch. So anyway, that's what the movie's about. It is not at all what I thought it was going to be about, but that's okay. Let's get into my review, what I thought about it. So, the directing. It was fine. It wasn't like, oh my god, this is so well directed. It was like fine. There were a few scenes, like when she is in the process of kidnapping Peter Dinklage. Now, that was badass. That was pretty fucking cool. That was well directed. Whenever she is maybe about to die, like they're planning this scene and they're trying to dump a car on the lake. Like, that was pretty like nerve-wracking, and it was directed well. But it wasn't like, oh my god, this is like a cinematic masterpiece. It was just fine. It was like fine directing. The acting was really good, I would say, overall. Peter Dinklage did fucking amazing. I loved him in this movie. The lady that plays his mom, I do not know her name, but she did really good. There's this scene where Marla is at the senior home where she put this woman, and she's like trying to get information because she's getting threats, from these people that if she doesn't let Jennifer out, this old lady out, that she's gonna die. So she's like, what do you know? And the old lady's like, they're coming for you. They're coming for you. Mm-hmm. She's kind of scary, that old lady. I know she was in the mafia too. She is scary. Rosamond Pike, she did really good. There were a couple things that I was like, oh, that is a little cringy, honey. That is a little cringy. And then there were some other things where some things that she said where her accent came out a bit too much. She said urine, and she goes, urine? I don't even know. I can't even say it, how she said it. It was awful. It was awful. But overall, very good acting. The plot, the story was really interesting. Like, there was a lot going on. It was kind of on the edge of your seat kind of thing. But like, I don't know why I was interested, because I hate Marla. I hated her. But I guess that's probably enough, to fuel. Because, like, even though I hated her, I still cared. I cared enough to hate her as much as I did. Because she's a fucking awful person. She's awful. There is no redeeming qualities about any person in this movie. They're all either scamming or they're in the mafia. and killing people. So anyway, the plot was pretty good. It was pretty interesting. But the music, this surprised me. This very much surprised me. The music was really good. There's a lot of synths. There's a lot of doodly-doo, and it was just really good. I'm really tired. It was really good music, and I was not expecting to like the music at all or have any feelings about it. But it was really good. The one thing that really confused me about this movie, though, is that Netflix is advertising this as a dark comedy. This thing ain't funny. Like, it's not funny, and that's fine. Like, that it's not like a mistake that it's not. But why is it advertised as a dark comedy? It's a thriller, babe. It's a crime thriller. One funny scene where Peter Dinklage is in the hospital bed after he, almost died, and he's got a tube in his throat, and she's there talking to him, and he's trying to talk, and she's like, okay, let's get a nurse in here to get that tube out of your throat, and she hits the nurse button on the bed, and it makes a ding-dong sound, and she just smiles and looks down on him, and she goes, ding dong. And that's funny. That's the only funny part of this whole movie. I don't know why it's advertised as a dark comedy. I don't understand. Netflix, please take that off. You really misled me. You really advertised that incorrectly. Anyway, overall, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I didn't absolutely love it, but it was a good movie. I probably wouldn't watch it again or recommend it, but it was a pretty cool movie. So if you want to watch it, it's on Netflix. Tell me what you thought. If you've seen it, let me know. If you go watch it, then come back. Let me know what you thought, and let me know if you agreed with my review. If you go down in the description box, you'll find my Twitter, my TikTok, and my Instagram. Please go follow me on that stuff. It would really help out a lot. But you know what would help out the most? If you subbed to the channel. Can you subscribe to my channel, please? Just subscribe. It helps out a lot. I'm trying to grow my channel, trying to do my thing. I'm posting 3 videos a week. That's a lot of work, y'all. So just subscribe, hit the bell, and like this video. And like I said, if you've seen it, let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. I've also got a podcast called The Casual Critic that you definitely need to check out. It comes out every Saturday. It's on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And it's different stuff from my YouTube channel. So it's not the same old. It's not duplicates. So go listen to the podcast because it's new, extra stuff. And I will see you in the next review. Peace.